I'm Chloe, your French guide, and joining me as always is our enthusiastic learner, Devendra.
Bonjour, Chloe. I'm really excited to be here. I'm ready to dive into today's lesson.
Excellent, Devendra. It's wonderful to have you. And for all of you watching this, we're building on our previous lesson about personal introductions. Today, we're taking it a step further. We're going to learn how to talk about jobs and careers in French. This is super practical for meeting new people and expanding your network, whether you're traveling or just making new friends.
That sounds incredibly useful, Chloe. I mean, after what's your name and how are you, what do you do is usually the next question, isn't it?
Exactly, Devendra. It's one of those foundational questions. And by the way, if you're new here and want a steady drip of these lessons, subscribe to Langmitra. We ship one a week. Today, we'll cover key vocabulary for common jobs, how to ask someone what they do, and a really important grammar rule about articles. Plus, we'll get into the fascinating world of gender in French job titles. Keep an ear out because the cultural note we'll share in the last few minutes is the part most learners get wrong when they first start speaking French professionally. So, Devendra, let's jump right in. We'll start with some common professions. In French, many job titles change depending on whether the person is male or female. This is a crucial concept, and you'll see it a lot. Let's begin with teacher. How do you think we might say a teacher in French, knowing we have masculine and feminine forms?
I remember un for masculine and une for feminine. So maybe un professeur and une professeure?
You're halfway there, Devendra. Excellent recall on un and une. For teacher, the masculine is indeed un professeur. Can you try saying that for me? Un professeur.
Un professeur.
Perfect. Now for the feminine, it's une professeure. We add an E at the end. Can you repeat that? Une professeure.
Une professeure.
Fantastic. You've got the sound of that final E in professeur. Just right. That E is often pronounced, especially when it creates a new syllable. Let's try another one. How about student? The masculine is un étudiant. Can you say that?
Un étudiant.
Very good. And the feminine is une étudiante. Listen carefully. Une étudiante. Excellent, Devendra. You're picking up on the gender changes quickly. Notice how the t sound at the end of étudiant becomes pronounced in étudiante because of that added E. It's a common pattern. Now, let's try a job that's a bit different. Doctor. This one is often the same word for both genders. It's un médecin for a male doctor and une médecin for a female doctor. The word itself doesn't change, only the article.
Oh, that's interesting, Chloe. So, un médecin and une médecin. Can I try saying both? Absolutely, Devendra. Go for it. Un médecin, une médecin.
Spot on. You pronounced médecin beautifully both times. That's a great example of a profession that doesn't change its ending for gender. We'll see more of those. But imagine you're introducing yourself or someone else. How would you say, I am a male student, using je suis?
Okay. Je suis un étudiante.
Almost perfect, Devendra. You've got the je suis and étudiante right. But here's where we hit our first major grammar rule for today, and it's a big one. In French, when you state your profession using être, meaning to be, like je suis, meaning I am, you generally omit the indefinite article, meaning un or une. So instead of je suis un étudiante, it becomes je suis étudiante.
Oh, really? That's quite different from English where we always say, I am a student.
Exactly. It's a common point of confusion for English speakers, but once you get it, it becomes second nature. Think of it as directly stating your status or identity, rather than saying you are one of many. So, Devendra, try again. I am a male student.
Ah, I see. So, je suis étudiante.
Perfect, Devendra. You nailed it. That sounds much more natural in French. And how would you say she is a female teacher?
Elle est professeure.
Excellent, Devendra. That was a fantastic application of the rule. You remembered the feminine form and omitted the article. See? You're a natural. If this is helping you, a quick thumbs up sends it to more learners. Let's delve a bit deeper into this article omission, Devendra, because it's a cornerstone of professional introductions. When you use être, meaning to be, directly followed by a profession, you don't use un or une. For example, je suis médecin, meaning I am a doctor. Il est ingénieur, meaning he is an engineer. Elle est avocate, meaning she is a lawyer. It's like you're saying I am doctor or he is engineer. It's more direct.
So it's not je suis un médecin, but je suis médecin, and not elle est une avocate, but elle est avocate. This is a real aha moment for me, Chloe. I can see why it's a common mistake, but it makes sense when you think of it as a direct statement of identity.
Precisely, Devendra. You've articulated that perfectly. It's a subtle but significant difference from English. Now, there is an exception, of course, because it's French. If you add an adjective before the profession, then you do use the article. For instance, je suis un bon médecin, meaning I am a good doctor, or elle est une excellente avocate, meaning she is an excellent lawyer. But for just stating the profession, no article.
So if I just say the job, no article. If I describe the job, then I need the article. Got it, Chloe. That's a really clear distinction. And if you've made it this far, here's a bonus tip. This rule also applies to nationalities. You'd say je suis français, meaning I am French, not je suis un français.
Great connection, Devendra. That's a perfect example of how these rules extend. You're really seeing the patterns. Now, let's expand our vocabulary a bit more. We discussed how some professions change for gender, like professeur to professeur, but some have more significant changes. For example, baker. Masculine is un boulanger. Can you try that? Une boulangère. Notice the g sound changes slightly, and we add er. Listen, une boulangère, une boulangère. Excellent, Devendra. You're really articulating those endings. Another common one is waiter and waitress. Masculine, un serveur, and feminine, une serveuse. That often becomes euse. Try une serveuse, une serveuse. Superb. You're mastering these transformations. Keep practicing these, and remember to review your study cards after the lesson for vocabulary, grammar, and cultural insights, and try the practice exercises to improve your pronunciation and test your understanding. Devendra, let's talk a little about the cultural aspect of discussing professions in France. In many French-speaking cultures, there's a certain formality and respect associated with one's profession. When you meet someone new, especially in a professional setting, asking, "Que faites-vous dans la vie?" meaning, "What do you do in life?" is a very common and polite way to inquire about their job. That's interesting, Chloe. In English, we might just say, "What do you do?" or "What's your job?" But "What do you do in life?" sounds much more profound. It does, doesn't it? It reflects a view where one's profession is often seen as a significant part of their identity and contribution to society. It's not just a job, it's a vie, a life. Also, in formal settings, the vous form is almost always preferred over tu when asking about someone's profession, unless you're explicitly invited to use tu. So, que faites-vous is your go-to for politeness. So even if I'm talking to someone who seems my age, it's safer to start with que faites-vous rather than qu'est-ce que tu fais? Absolutely, Devendra. Err on the side of formality. It's always better to be perceived as polite than overly familiar. They can always invite you to use tu if they prefer. This respect for professional identity is quite ingrained. You'll also find that French people often introduce themselves with their title, especially in specific fields, like Docteur Dubois or Maître Dupont for lawyers. That's a great cultural insight, Chloe. It reminds me a bit of how some cultures use honorifics or family names more frequently in professional settings. It really emphasizes the role. You're right, Devendra. It's very much about that emphasis on role and respect. Now, let's do a quick recap and final practice. I'll say a job, and I'd like you to say it in French, both masculine and feminine if applicable, and then tell me how you'd say I am a, using the correct rule. Ready? I'm ready, Chloe. Let's do it. Fantastic. First up, engineer. Un ingénieur and une ingénieure, and je suis ingénieur or je suis ingénieur. Excellent, Devendra. Your pronunciation of ingénieur was much clearer than your first try earlier. See, you're getting better each time. Next, journalist. Un journaliste, une journaliste, and je suis journaliste. Perfect. That's another one where the word itself doesn't change, only the article. You remembered the article omission. How about writer? Un écrivain and une écrivaine. and je suis écrivain or je suis écrivaine. Absolutely brilliant, Devendra. You got the slightly tricky écrivain to écrivaine change. Compare how you said that at the beginning versus now. Huge difference. You've made tremendous progress today. Thanks, Chloe. This was really helpful. The rule about omitting the article with être is going to save me from a lot of mistakes. I'm so glad to hear that, Devendra. You've done exceptionally well today, mastering not just new vocabulary, but also a really key grammar point and some important cultural nuances. Keep practicing these phrases. Try to identify people's professions in French in your head as you go about your day. For example, oh, elle est serveuse, or il est médecin. That's a great idea, Chloe. I'll definitely do that. It helps make it real. It certainly does. And speaking of real, in our next lesson, we're going to expand on these introductions by talking about where people live and work. We'll learn how to ask and answer questions about cities, countries, and workplaces, giving you even more tools for those initial conversations. It's going to be another exciting step in your French journey. I'm already looking forward to it. Thanks for a fantastic lesson, Chloe. My pleasure, Devendra. And to all our viewers, thank you for joining us. If today's cultural note about que faites-vous dans la vie surprised you, drop it in the comments and share this with someone you know learning French.
Before we recap, one quick ask. What worked for you in this lesson? What felt hard? And what topic should we teach next? Drop it in the comments. Your feedback shapes what we build next.
One language sets you in a corridor for life. Learn language with podcast. Subscribe.